Very good morning, all. This is Mohit Sharma, and here I am presenting the my topic. They like the Here's the subject of research methodology and data analysis, and I am also be thanks to my faculty, the Dr. Ganesha. He's giving me the most valuable information to how to be present on this topic, and the topic is to analyze the growth rate and production productivity and export performance of major species from India. And why I'm choosing this topic? Because our institute also be the plantation management, and the southern part is also be growing the more the spices. So it consider the productions and productivity to export performance of major spices. And so here's a look about there is the introduction part. India, known as home of spices, boasts a long history of trading with the Asian civilizations of Rome and China. Today, India's spices are the most sought after globally, given their exquisite aroma, texture, taste, and the medical values. India has the largest domestic market of the spices of the world. Traditionally, spices in India value have been grown in small land holding with, with organic farming, grain performance in recent time. India is the world largest producer, consumer, and exporter of spices. Here's the three things. India has largest producer and largest consumer is also be India, and largest exporter is also be India. The country produces about 75 of out of 119 varieties listed by International Organization of Standard (IOS) to accounting the half of the global trading in the spices. So here's a look about 75 varieties we are listed in the International Organization Standard. Here's the export highlights and key market. In financial year 20, the spices worth in USD 3.6 billion, were exported during financial year 19 a total of 1.1 million ton of spices, and spices product values USD 2.80 billion was exported from the country as against in 2019 1.02 billion ton, and value, if I'm talking about the value, so value in 2.78 USD billion in fiscal year 2020, the resisting in increasing the 70% of the volume. So here's a comparison about the 2019 and against 2018 to here's a 70% increasing. If I'm talking about the top 10 importer of Indian spices in fiscal year 19, we have US is the largest importer, China, Vietnam, Hong Kong, Bangladesh, Thailand, UK, UAE, Malaysia, and Sri Lanka, respectively. Doing physical, during financial year 19, top 10 exporting spices and spices product in terms of value were chili, mint product, spices, oil, cumin, turmeric, pepper, curry, powder, paste, cardamom, seed, other spices like turmeric and cassia and garlic during fiscal year 19. India chili exported should in if I'm talking about the the quantities in the Indian chili, because the chili is the highest exporter in the like the recent year 2020. In the ton of 46 lakh 85,000 ton, cumin exported 18 lakh 300 tons. turmeric exported at 1,33,600 tons. And cardamom large exported, here's the two varieties, the large or the small. We have to export the cardamom. If I'm talking about the large, so it only 860 tons. The total spices export during April 20 to November 20 was US 2.57 billion. And for the month of November 2020, it was US 313.7 million. In financial year 20 till December 19, ginger exported shown as highest growth of 47% with 9,410 tons. Flowing by cardamom, 31% is growing more at the where the quantities of 1,060. The if I'm talking about the cumin, so with 14% and the quantity 700 350 tons. The varieties of the spices of one as I'm talking about the previously 119 spices listed by ISO and growing 75 varieties of spices as per their suitable in different agroclimate condition and situations available in the various part of the country from sea level to the dry temperature zone and deep in the Himalayan. So as we going and we the first originating in the spices like the Himalayan, out of these 52 items of spices are coming under the Spices Board of India. Varieties of spices are, if I'm talking about varieties, so here's the four categories we have considered that the type of varieties, herbal spices, commercial important spices, and commercial spices. Uh, Type of spices, turmeric, ginger, green chili, dry ginger, nutmeg, red chili, vanilla. So you can see that here's a type of spices and herbal spices. If you see the herbal spices, so mint we also be consider the herbal spices. Thyme is also be considered the herbal spices. Parsley we also be consider the herbal spices and commercial important spices. You know, the we are growing the commercially and exporting the more in the commercial important spices like black pepper, cardamom, chilies, ginger, turmeric seed, or cumin, curly. So here's the commercial important spices. Miscellaneous spices, the garlic, vanilla, or juniper. So here's some miscellaneous. Apart from that, here's the other spices we have to put. The scope of study, the investigation and analysis, it all about the calculate the growth rate and stabilities in production and productivity in significant spices in the country, India. In the research work, what I found that in my research work, export of spices in international market, where estimated the study the study the study conjugately cover the analysis of one decade's performance. The info has been taken to the annual report and Spices Board of India in collaborate analysis. So I consider data on the 1 decade, like I consider the data on the 10 years and the secondary data, the annual report of the Spices and the Spices Board of India. I cover to the data to the help of the Spices Board of India. Objective of this study. What the objective of this study? To study of production and prospect of spices export in India. To access the performance of spices export in 10 years from India. Actually, we have here is this research methodology. Here I consider the four type of the methodology: the simple design, data source, the period of time, how much period we consider, the geographical area of spices. Because if I'm talking about geographical area, it's the most important of the thing, geographical area. If I'm talking about the simple design, first of all, the study is attempt for analysis of significant spices data in terms of growth rate, stability in the area, in the growth rate, the stability of the area, production and productivity, and to examine of export performance of significant spices in India. The second, data source. The study used in the secondary data, as I told you previously, which has been obtained from Spices Bureau of India annual report from various publications, which is cited in the reference, officially report and web source such as the Handbook of Spices Bureau of India. The period of the study, the research study covers 8 decades, the 10 years data from 2010-11 to 1920. Geographical area of spices covered, the as we all know about the more than South India part is growing the more spices, like southern and northern state. If we consider the India, likely Kerala, Karnataka, Madhya Pradesh, Andhra, Tamil Nadu, Maharashtra, Telangana, Rajasthan, Uttarakhand. It is the major spices producer, and these geographical area are taken from analysis to examine of growth rate and stabilities. There's a different geographical area, and if you are going to different geographical area, so that your product will also be different varieties, because different varieties and different geographical area to need the export, and you search the different market if you have the different geographical area. Statistical research analysis tool. What I tools use in this research work? The CAGR, compound annual growth rate, the measure to growth rate of major spices of area, production and yield. Here is a consider the area, production and yield. The CAGR was worked out of using formula. What are the formula we are using in the CAGR? Like V naught or Vn and Vn minus V naught. The number of years. So I consider the 10 years, the number of years, and the the number of and value, and the T note showing the initial value. So the and value upon the initial value minus 1. The other thing is stabilities analysis to measure the instabilities of major spices area, yield and production. B, coefficient of variation like CV ratio was covered out of using the formula given below. CV, what the CV ratio? The standard deviation upon mean into 100. Export performance of Indian spices. The export of Indian spices was product of spices search like like 21,515.4 crore. In USD, 3033.44 million. And the volume of 1 lakh 18,000, oh sorry, the 11 lakh 83,000 tons in 1920, supporting their strong interest in global business sector in spite of farm reliability. During the previous year of 1890, the country has exported a total of 1 lakh 11,250 metric of spices of its product. The means of quantity 7.52 growth ratio. So Here's clearly shown that in the period of 1819, we have growth 7.52, the ratio in the market. In rupees term, in the spices export in the 1920 was 10% of growth rate, and the value of 19,505.1.81 crore, and in the dollar terms of growth rate 8%. So in the rupees term, the growth rate 10%, and apart from that, the if I'm talking about the growth rate in the dollar term, to 8% clearly shown that this figure. The total number of spices and spices product exported should 215 of every 2019-20 against as 219 things in the previous year. So 215 in 2019-20 and the against of 2119 in this 2018 or 19. Chili mint product spices oil has a varieties of the spices, and the Indian spices are exported of 185 countries, like the China share 25%, US 16%, Bangladesh 6%, Thailand 5%, USA 6%, Sri Lanka, UK, Indonesia, Germany, respectively. Talks adding to the more than 70% fair income in these particular countries. Chile kept to bring the most demanded spices 90-20 with fair 484,000 tons among the value of 6,221.7 crore, and the total value of has 21 lakh tons in the cumin and value of 3,225 crore in the year of 1920. The result and discussion. If the growth and stability of area of hectare in major spices. So here is a 10 years data, and the commodities paper, cardamom, small cardamom, large chili, ginger, turmeric. So you can show the table, the paper the in the in the year of 11-12, the highest growth area in the paper, like 20,000, 2 lakh 2,30,081 in the lowest in the 13-14 in 1,24,400. The highest is 20 lakh and the lowest is 12 lakh. If I'm talking about the cardamom, the highest growing in the 71,000 and 71,285, and the lowest growing in the year of the 1819, 69, okay, 690. So here's a clearly shown this the area of hectare, like the cardamom, the highest growth in the year of 12 or 13, and the lowest growth in the 19, the highest growth in the 1920, and the lowest growth in the 12-13. It's a blue color is the highest years and the highest hectare area of hectare, and the red color shown as the lowest area of hectare in this particular commodities. If I'm talking about the ginger, the highest growing in the ginger 13-14, and the lowest growth of the ginger in the area of production is in 2011-12. Turmeric, the highest growing in the turmeric, the 11-12, and the lowest area of hectare the growing the turmeric like the 14 and 15. The mean of the highest of the mean, there's a mean value of the paper like 14 lakh 35,082, and cardamom 69,099, and the cardamom large 29,079 799, and the chili is the highest average of the in the 10-year period, like chili is the 7,44,177, and the ginger is the 2 lakh 1,074, in the turmeric 22,1817. So here's a respectively of the all the commodities, and the average of the highest in the chili, and the standard derivation ratio, the highest of standard derivation ratio in the ginger, and 16,684. And here's the CV ratio. The highest of the CV ratios is also be ginger, like 79.19. CAGR, compound annual growth rate. Who is the who is the going to the as a highest in the compound annual growth rate? So has a cardamom large going to the more 4.91. The second table shown the growth of stability production in ton for major spices. The paper is the 70,000, and 70,000 is highest production in the year of 2014-15, and the lowest 37,000 in the previous year, like 13-14. So here is a clearly shown that 2013 to 14, 37,000, and 14 to 15 is the highest production of the paper. And you know it's a more initiative taking to the government to highest production of these years, and these years also be the environment, the climate condition is also be good rather than the previous year is the farmers facing the many issues like the environmental or the condition is not be good for the weather, and the cardamom is the highest growing in the cardamom 15-16, and the lowest growing in the cardamom 19-20. In the cardamom large in highest growing in the year of 18-19, and the lowest production in the cardamom in the 11-12. And chili is the highest production in the 16-17, and chili is the lowest production in 2010 to 11. Ginger in the highest production of the ginger is the year of 18-19, and lowest production of the ginger is 12-13. Turmeric highest production in turmeric 2011-12, and the lowest production in turmeric in 2014-15. The mean ratio or the average ratio, the highest average in the chili in the 16 lakh 14,235, the standard ratio 52,569, or the CV ratio is also be ginger 42.32, and CA compound annual growth rate 8.17 is the cardamom large in the terms of production of ton. The third table shown as the productivity tons per hectare. So if I'm talking about the average of the particular area, the productivity, which commodities is the productivity of high, So ginger is the productivity is very high. If I'm talking about the average of all the commodities, the ginger is 7.33, or standard deviation is also the highest in the ginger, 3.13, and CV ratio is also the highest of the ginger, 42.70, 42.72, or compound annual growth rate is also the highest of the ginger, 6.71. Export of major spices from India is quantity in tons. So here is a in the quantities of ton. The quantities of the paper in the highest quantity in the paper 2015 to 16, or the lowest in the 18 to 19. Cardamom, the highest quantity of the cardamom 70 to 18, and the cardamom, the lowest quantity in the cardamom 2011 to 10, like the 11,075, 1175, and the cardamom large in the year of the highest quantities in the cardamom 2012 to 13, and the lowest quantities of the cardamom large is 600 in the year of 2015 to 16. The chili, the highest quantity of the chilies in the year of 1920, and the lowest quantities of the chili 2010 to 11. The ginger, the highest quantities of the ginger is the 2019 to 20, 50,410, and the lowest quantities of the ginger in 2010 to 11, 1,575, 15,700. In the turmeric, the quantities of the turmeric in the ton, the highest quantity of the turmeric 2019-20, and the turmeric in the lowest quantity of the turmeric 2010 to 11. The if I'm talking about the mean, the mean 1900, 5,094, and respectively in cardamom 3 3,177, and the cardamom large 880, and chili is the highest average of the chili, 3,58,565, and respectively others. Standard deviation ratio in the highest of the also be chili, 83,911. CV ratio is the cardamom is small, is the highest of the CV ratio, and compound annual growth here is so that the paper is the negative of the compounded annual growth rate, and the positive of the ginger 12.33. So the negative of the paper of the compound annual growth rate in the terms of quantity in ton. Export of major spices from India in value, rupees in crore. So the value of the crore, the paper in the highest in 2015 to 16, and the lowest to 10 to 11. The cardamom also the lowest to the 10 to 11, and the highest of the cardamom like 17 to 18. And the cardamom large, the highest value in the 2012 to 50, 2014 to 15 in highest value of the cardamom large, and the lowest of 2010 to 11. Chile, highest value in 2019-20, as you know about the production of the all the spices in the term of the COVID. Um, COVID is also be going there. So here, India is a more exporting in the COVID situation, and we made some Corona kit also be to exporting to the European countries. Ginger is lowest in the 10 to 11, or the highest ginger is also Also we consider the 1920. Here's a immunity based, like the ginger, turmeric is the immunity based kit, and the turmeric value in rupees in 2012 to 13, or the turmeric value in highest is 18 to 19. The mean of the all the 10 years, the highest in the Chile in 37 lakh 25,569. Standard deviation ratio is also the highest of the Chile, 14 lakh 62,264.83, and CV ratio is the paper is the highest, and compound annual growth rate is the, if you are looking about all the data, so you look about the compounded annual growth rate. The compounded annual growth rate in the terms of the value 15.1 in the Chile. So as you consider that the Chile is the highest demandable and the highest exportable in the terms of the value. The overall growth rate and stability analysis for the period of the study 2010 to 20s. Here just show about the figure, the CV, the growth and stability in the area of major spices. So the paper is also the highest, and the growth and stability in production for major spices, on growth and stability in productivity of major spices, export major spices from India in quantity in term. So the export in the cardamom is small, is a quantity of major exporting, and the CV or C compound annual growth exporting major spices from India in value in lakhs. What I've observed and what are the finding in these research? Commodities wise export of significant spices of India. Paper shown as increasing in production wise and slightly decreasing in area wise due to poor climate condition, and slight fall in export due to comparatively. And compound annual growth rate report growth rate of 3.71 in terms of export value. Export value is minus 1.47 in terms of export quantities. The cardamom is small, shown as positive side in the area production, productivity, and export performance of compound annual growth rate 12.42 in the terms of export value. So here's clearly shown that the cardamom is small, is a compound annual growth rate, the 14.42. And if I'm talking about the cardamom large, so the compounded annual growth rate 4.23. To the annual growth rate in the cardamom small is higher than to the large cardamom. Chile, Chile, the most exported and demanded spices in the global market for the period 2009, 2010 to 2020. When compared to 2001 to 10, with growth rate 15 point in the terms of export value, and while compared to the stability has decreasing slightly functionable. Ginger. Ginger shown positive record in terms of production, productivity, and export performance, but slightly year-wise functional year-wise due to health, environmental heritage, and poor harvesting. The growth rate of the ginger in export value 13.98. Turmeric shown as decreasing in production and productivity due to landslide and poor farm planning and lack of scheme of functional in the market price, but slightly increasing in area and exporting performance of annual growth rate in the turmeric 5.63. Here is a suggestion. What I suggest to the this research work, and what I found that the government and the Ministry of Agriculture have to announce new agriculture scheme to boost agriculture and improve productivity to create demand in the global market. Quantity of product should be cultivated by the farmer. Farm incentive should be farm incentive uh, provide to be farmed through agriculture ministry scheme to improve the production and productivity. Immediately fund to be released to be farmers during the disaster and loss of production. In the what happened in the India, the India is a climate condition is very different, and we all and India farmers depend on the most of the weather and the rain. And if the government is not be supporting to the farmer, so we cannot be growing well, or the productivity is not be sufficient if the weather is not be good. So government is also be release or allocate the budget of disaster and loss productions. Exporters can be rewarded for their better performance, can be motivated, because if you are not motivated to the exporter, so you cannot be growing in the international market. Exporter is also be awarded them, and exporter government should, if the exporter, any exporter, export the more of the quantity, so we appreciate this exporter. The latest technology packaging machine to be adopted for the first packaging of the spices product to avoid damage. If you have the new technology like the packaging, so the our wastage we have to reduce. Provide paper, provide proper warehouse of stock and spices based on the climate condition. India has more. India, what the India and the farmers observe, we do not have the proper storage. Uh, so we need to proper storage, as well as the warehouse. We store the commodities. The government itself can be procure spices product from the farmers and export, so that the farmer can get good price, and supply of good can be maintained properly in the country of exporting. Government should try to procure, or the government should be try to, the MSP of the all these spices, so the farmers should be growing and more, and the more productivity of the spices. Government should be reduce the proper produce and export in order to the increasing of the export. Okay, here's the conclusion. India exports spices to more than 150 countries, and major share of India about 44% in the output of 36 in international spices trade. America is the largest importer of the spices, flowing by Germany and others part of Europe. And Middle East, world major spices producer are India, 1.6 million tons per annual, China 99,000 annual ton per annual, Bangladesh 48,000 ton per annual, Pakistan 55 ton per annual, Nepal 15,000 ton per annual. The Indian government is a very keep on increasing value addition in spices spare of COVID-19 across the global market, and business has afflicted to the supply chain, has both has brought the world economy in the slowdown condition. India foreign trade during 1920 has also been the registered a negative growth, mainly due to the slowdown of the export during the end of March 20. However, dispute the COVID-19 pandemic, spices export from India has continuous upward trend during 1920. So we have going. the 1920, and we have growing these sectors and has growth of 3 billion in the mark of the first time history of spices export. We have created the history of the 1920 to the exporting to the more value of the spices, and the estimated export during 1920 has done was 19 1,95,005.1 crore in USD. uh, in USD 28 point in USD 2080 2,805.5 million during the last financial year. The compared to the last year to export had shown as increasing of 10% in rupees value and 8% in quantity of dollar. So if you're talking the rupees, we have growing to the 10% in the dollar of quantities, we have growing to the 8%. Still can be positive performance better under such as conditions of the government should be planned strong policies and implement of methodology to spices stand of the India. So his government also be taking the many initiative doing the scheme of the doing the export, and there is a result shown, and there also be many initiative doing the spices board of India. And thank you so much for the most important topic you are listening uh, to the most important topic, and thank you so much again.